Welcome to a 10-1-10 review. My name is Nessa and today I'll be talking about Moonlight Peaks and how I felt after playing the game for 10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours, and 1 year in-game. As a person who does not have a lot of time to play games, I think that first impressions are important. The first 10 minutes to an hour of a game should give you the basic rundown of what it has to offer. That being said, I also know that farming and life sim games, RPGs, and overall cozy games might need some time to shine, which is why I think it's important to review the game at 10 hours and after a year in-game. How I felt at the 1 hour mark might change at 10 hours, and that could drastically change again after I've gone through an entire year in the game. I won't be rating Moonlight Peaks on a scale, but I'll definitely talk about the things that I like and the things I wished it did differently so you can make an informed choice on whether this game is for you. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Moonlight Peaks is a farming and life sim game developed by Little Chicken. In this game, you are a vampire who is able to learn spellcasting and potion making, raise interesting and magical crops, gather resources and forage in the wilderness, decorate your farm, house interior, and even parts of town, and build relationships with the townsfolk, most of which are supernatural and paranormal beings. It retails for $34.99 on the PC, Nintendo Switch, and Android, but it retails for $39.99 USD on the Switch 2. I played exclusively on the Switch 2 for this review, so any discussion on performance issues and bugs would be solely for the Switch 2 version. The game starts out with your character deciding to run away from home and starting over at your family's neglected farm in Moonlight Peaks. Beyond that, there is no main storyline that the game follows. You are free to live how you want, even though there are plenty of main objectives to complete, such as restoring the crest in town, helping the villagers, stocking the museum with interesting creatures and items, and joining a witch's coven, to name a few. In the first 10 minutes, there isn't a lot of gameplay. I spent about 5 minutes creating my character and the other 5 minutes learning about how I came to the town of Moonlight Peaks. I like that in this case, I am a vampire running away from home and going to my mother's old place, determined to show that I can do things my own way. When I wake up the next morning, there's a vampire passed out outside my door, and after I wake him up by watering his face, he wants me to start farming so he can make his own red wine. There's no tutorial just yet, as he tells me to go find Victor to learn how to farm. So with that, my 10 minutes are up and I have my first goal. Moonlight Peaks does a great job of introducing me to my purpose in the first 10 minutes, and I like the visuals, especially during the train ride. I was excited to start farming and was wondering what the tutorial would be like. Since there isn't a lot of gameplay so far, it's hard to tell where the story will take me. I'm excited to continue onward to my 1 hour. The first hour of the game was spent farming, fishing, and getting to learn the layout of the town and the townsfolk that live in it. Farming in Moonlight Peaks is pretty standard. You shovel the ground, which is the equivalent to tilling the soil in other farming games, plant seeds, water them daily, and I presume harvest the crops when they are grown. I say presume at this point since I haven't been able to get there yet in the first hour. I go and pay Victor a visit since I was curious to see what the tutorial was like, and even then, I was surprised that it was pretty basic. Victor will quickly run down the controls with a sentence or two. This is pretty refreshing to me since a lot of games have really long and hand-holdy tutorials, so I appreciate having the ability to just jump into the game without training wheels. After planting my first crops and marveling at how the watering can sprays instead of watering tile by tile, I head into town where I meet up with some werewolves staring at a broken bench. One happens to be the mayor, and he asks me to come to town hall to complete some paperwork so that I can officially be registered as a citizen and get my shipping bin in the form of a creature that looks to be a mimic with multiple eyes. On my way to town hall, I explore Moonlight Peaks and I talk to every townsfolk that I see. You can definitely tell the townsfolk have a lot of character, and it seems as though there are factions, as some are werewolves, some appear to be witches and warlocks, and others are vampires like me. Luckily, the town is not so sprawling that I couldn't find my way to town hall without a map. As I was exploring the town, one thing really started to stand out to me. The loading screens between entering and exiting houses and different parts of the map was very apparent. Since I'm playing on the Switch 2, I don't know what the performance is like and whether the loading screens are faster on the PC, but I can definitely say that I did not like how long it took me to transition scenes, and I was painfully aware of how often I had to do that. I'm hoping that this is not going to be the case for the entirety of my playthrough, but I'm also resigned to the fact that I think it might be. Long loading screens aside, I really like the different houses in town. All of the interiors are decorated really well, and the town does feel feel as though it has a lot of character, just like the townsfolk who live there. You can definitely tell at a glance where the vampires live and what buildings or shops without having to go inside. During this time, I was gifted a fishing rod and a challenge to catch fish. Fishing in Moonlight Peaks is pretty standard in the sense where you can cast your line, wait for fish to nibble, and then hold the action button to reel in your catch. Some bigger fish require a stronger rod, so you won't be able to catch them just yet. In addition to catching fish, you can also fish up some crafting recipes for decorations, so I really liked being able to do that. Speaking of blueprints, you can find them by doing tasks such as hitting rocks or digging up glowing areas on the map. Anytime a game adds the ability to get random blueprints from a task, even if that task is tedious, it makes it feel less bothersome if I'm getting cool recipes to decorate my farm and house from it. So I was really thankful that Moonlight Peaks has this system in place. I was able to get through 2 days and a little bit of a morning on the third day before my hour was up. I really like how gentle the opening is with minimal tutorials and minimal quests. The game does not bombard you with things that you need to do, and the UI is cleared of quests even when new ones are added, so that you can just enjoy the game without having to see what your next goal is. Since I played the demo, I know that eventually you'll have the ability to do magic. However, I'm really glad that they didn't introduce this system right away. I think that it's important for new players to be able to get used to the game and explore the map themselves so that they can get oriented. The easement into the flow of the game is super important and stands out here, as I know that there are farming sim games which can overwhelm new players with the number of systems that they need to learn in the beginning and tutorials on how to do everything. I created a goal for myself already, which is to get a bit more money to buy a well and fix up my shabby house. I was very excited to jump into my 10 hours and see how far I can go. I made it to the 3rd of summer after roughly 10 hours of playing. I say roughly since the Nintendo Switch doesn't give a very accurate measurement of how long you've played for, even though they definitely have that data. My impression of Moonlight Peaks at 10 hours is that it's pretty much a traditional farming sim game with that supernatural and paranormal elements and an inverse schedule where you play mainly at night instead of the day since you are a vampire. I have not unlocked any diverging systems just yet. The spells are still locked, so I do not have the ability to magically farm or use any of my vampiric abilities. As far as traditional farming sim games go, money isn't much of a big issue in this game. Farming is pretty lucrative, and since watering and planting does not use up stamina, I was able to maintain a larger farm here than other farming sims around the same time. I was steadily making upgrades that included adding a mill to process wheat and rice, and also starting the upgrade to my house during this time. I had a pretty sizable farm, and I was prepping to get an animal barn soon. During this time, I helped with a quest to dispel the magic around the southern area of town, which unlocked access to the mines and ores that I needed to upgrade my tools so that they expend less stamina when I'm using them, and they are generally more powerful than the base tools, so it takes less hits to gather resources, or in the case of the watering can, it can hold more water, which allows me to water for longer. I do like that the mine system is pretty simple in this game. You just enter the mines and start mining the ores that you can see. There are no enemies and no hidden ladders that you have to find. Right now, I'm still relatively early in the game, so the stairs to go deeper into the mines is blocked off. I was starting to get to know the villagers around this time by giving them gifts that they like on the daily, talking to them, and encountering various cutscenes. I do like that it seems the villagers are pretty layered so far, as many of them have interesting personal goals and dilemmas going on, and I can't wait to see what the romance looks like. For now, the system is pretty basic as other farming sims, so there's not too much to talk about in that sense. I was able to attend one festival during the 10-hour period, which happened to last for 2 whole days. Lovage is an interesting festival where you participate in a secret admirer gift exchange, and you can also craft a dish to contribute to the festival buffet. This really made me feel a part of the town since you really get to enjoy the festival for more than just one day. Since this is the only festival that I've attended so far, I am extremely curious to see what the other ones will be like. Moonlight Peaks also introduce you to collectibles in the form of soul blobs that you have to catch in your net, and in the form of vampsters that are hidden around town and the surrounding areas. Soul blobs will give you a little info on how the soul perished if you manage to catch them. They range from being common and easy to catch to difficult and harder to catch. Death will come and give you a reward for catching them, and there are 100 in total. As for the vampsters, you have to find where they are hiding and carry them all the way back to their little home in the southern mining area. I am not not a big fan of collecting the Vamsters at all, since you cannot put them down or they will run away and back to the location where they were hiding, coupled with the game's really long loading screens, and depending on where you find them, it's just not fun for me to engage in at all. I'm pretty excited to continue playing the game as I enter a new chapter of raising animals. Right now, I'm still pretty shocked that I haven't unlocked spells or magic yet after 10 hours, so I'm wondering when the system will be introduced. Without the magical elements in the game, Moonlight Peaks at this point is pretty much similar to other farming sim games, and it doesn't really stand out too much in the farming aspect. Everything is pretty standard comparatively, with the exception of the watering can being able to spray instead of water tile by tile, and the ease in which you can make money. However, it doesn't have any unique systems that it has introduced so far, which you might have expected after 10 hours. So I'm getting a little bit nervous in terms of when the spells will be introduced. What's making Moonlight Peaks shine so far are the relationships that I'm developing with the townsfolk, as their cutscenes have been very enjoyable, and I can't wait to see how our relationships will develop after 1 year. I am still hopeful that more things will be unlocked and Moonlight Peaks will reach its full potential by the time that the 1 year rolls around. Quite shortly after the 10-hour mark, I did unlock the quest to help me fix up my wand and start using magic. There are spells that you can buy from the magical shop to help you complete tasks easier, such as spells to water your crops, make it rain the next day, and spells to chop down trees and mine rocks for you. These spells cost specific mana points to use depending on their powers, and the mana points are refilled by 1 each day. If you want to use the rain spell, then that costs 3 mana points, so you can only utilize it once every 3 days unless you use an essence of mana to restore your mana points. Essence of mana can be crafted by extracting mana from magical plants, those of which I also just unlocked. These magical plants have requirements, such as needing to be magically watered in order to grow, and some of them need to be planted in an herb garden plot. I also unlocked the ability to dry out my herbs and grind them into powder so that I can use them in different potions. Unfortunately for me, I haven't unlocked the potion making system this entire time, so there wasn't much for me to do with the magical powders during my playthrough. Even though I didn't use magic as much as I thought I would, I really did like using my wand to cast spells. Each spell has a different cast that you have to memorize so that you can wave your wand in the correct direction in order to cast that spell. Because of the limitations of your mana points and the essence of mana, I really think that this could have been introduced earlier, and then the ability to extract mana from your magical plants could definitely be unlocked later so that it doesn't feel like you're getting too much in the beginning, but still getting a taste of that magical system in my opinion. I also started ranching a little after the 10-hour mark. Ranching is in alignment with other farming sim games as you have to feed your animals and they will give you products daily or every other day, depending on what type of animal they are. There is no differentiation between coops and barns in this game. All animals will be able to stay in the barn that you can build from the carpenter's shop. I really enjoy putting hats on my animals and talking to them while I'm in my Hell Kitten form to get a glimpse of their thoughts on what they did for the day, how they feel about other animals on the farm, and even their plans for revolution in some cases. There are a variety of different types of animals that you can buy in the game, all of which are magical and bizarre to say the least. There's a creature that is literally a stone with many eyes on it, and it gives you stone hearts, and it just makes sense. During my 10 hours to a year of the game, I did appreciate that new events were still happening. A new family moved in and broken down parts of the town were fixed up. I felt like these incremental changes helped with the progression of both my progress and in-game time, as I really felt as though I have been in the game for a while at that point, getting to know the townsfolk and being part of the community. I've been developing my relationships and I did start dating. I like that Moonlight Peaks does not have restrictions limits on how many people you can date at a time, although the game does warn you that you can only marry one person and that all relationships you've developed at that point will be set back to friendship level. You can hug, kiss, and invite your partners on dates, and depending on who you choose, they will have a date activity that they want to do. Although I did not manage to get married during my first year, which is pretty typical for longer farming sim games, I did have multiple partners that were pretty much maxed out on their heart levels, so it's only a matter of when I want to settle down. I do like that the game has a history of gifts that you've given to the townsfolk in their relationship tab, so you do have some help in determining what the best gift for them is if you forgot or you stepped away from the game for a few days. After 36 hours in the game, I was back to spring of year 2. Even so, I felt as though I just scratched the surface of Moonlight Peaks. There were still locked areas on the map that I haven't been able to explore yet. I do feel as though there were still systems that were locked out to me because I know that you can definitely get a cauldron and I don't have one yet. I feel as though this game is one where another year would be beneficial for the full game experience, and I'm pretty satisfied with that since at the game's price point, there should be enough content for multiple years. I've played some games where I usually finish everything by the year mark, but those games are much cheaper than this one. With that in mind, let's talk about the things that I like and the things I wish that Moonlight Peaks did differently. I like the ability to change the portrait type in this game. Personally, I don't like Portrait 1 styles as much, though the ability to switch to a more hand-drawn look was really appealing to me. I like the watering mechanic in the game, where the watering can acts as a sprayer to water multiple tiles at a time based on where you're aiming rather than just watering one tile at a time, which is the default in the farming sim genre. I do feel as though I have to refill my watering can more often in this game compared to others. However, it's still pretty satisfying to see multiple crops watered with a single spray. It makes watering way less tedious in my opinion. I do like that the game has a theme and sticks to it. The world is usually purple and darker than most games since you exclusively play during the night when vampires are awake. At first, I wasn't sure how they would capture the changing of seasons since spring and summer look pretty similar. However, the autumn leaves and the winter snow are captured pretty well, and I could definitely tell that I was in a different season, so I do like the bold choice of having everything happen at night. I like the supernatural and paranormal characters in the game and various cutscenes that I've been able to see so far. The town has so much personality and the fighting factions all have their own problems going on, which makes me invested in learning more about their motivations and getting to know them as our relationship develops. Even if I didn't give them gifts daily, I still knew who they were and what their personality was like. This is pretty invaluable in a farming and life sim game, and I think this is what Moonlight Peaks does the best. I also really like the decorating system in this game. You have the ability to decorate the interior of your house as well as outside of your farm and even various areas in town. You can craft decorations from the recipes that you find by collecting resources or by buying them from the shop. The game gives you a lot of different ways that you can decorate your space, and I appreciate that there are tons of little knickknacks that you can place on furniture items to give it a very cozy and maximalistic vibe. I like the festival minigames that you can participate in. My absolute favorite festival was Master Soup Competition, where you're able to enter a cooking show type of game. You make food to be judged by a gaggle of chickens, and I really like that you don't have to prepare a dish from home, but rather you do have to remember what ingredients go into a dish that you are trying to make. I really wish that more games would adopt this style of cooking competition because I always thought it was unfair for the competitors that you were able to use whatever ingredients you had at home. In the relationship tab, it will tell you if there's an event whenever you raise heart levels with someone. I actually didn't go to the screen too much or interacted to everyone in town as much as I wanted to, since I was busy running a farm and going on embroidery dates instead. However, I'm wondering now whether not getting some NPCs' relationship levels up have effectively gatekeep me out of areas of the map that are inaccessible or potentially new systems. So I am definitely working on that. There is no quick way to tell what day it is since the UI does not show this. You have to go into the calendar in the main menu to see the information. This is important for a game that has shop schedules where shops are closed on specific days, so I do wish that there was an indicator on the UI that could tell me what day it is at a glance, even if it was a small symbol that represented each day. Yes, there is a calendar animation that shows what day it is when you wake up, but realistically, I will forget, and I would just love a small constant reminder. I absolutely hate the loading screens on the Switch 2 version. I'm not sure how long the loading screen times are on the PC and Android version, but since I have the Switch 2, I can definitely say that going to another map is an absolute pain, whether entering or exiting my house, or going into each store in town. The loading screen plagues my life with how much waiting I have to do. I would say that I would definitely befriend more townsfolk earlier if I didn't have to enter and exit so many places, since I just do not want to deal with the loading screens. I probably would also rescue more vampsters if it wasn't for this fact as well. Speaking of loading screens, I'm really not a fan of how the museum is set up, since you have to go into each exhibit hall to donate items needed instead of just doing it directly from the museum lobby. If you have different donations eligible in different halls, such as both fish and bugs, then you would have to go into the aquarium, wait for a loading screen, donate your fish, leave the aquarium to go back to the lobby, since there is no way to directly go to the critter area, wait in another loading screen, turn around and enter the portal again when you're in the lobby to select the critter area, wait for another loading screen, donate your critter, leave for the lobby, where you guessed it, you have to wait for another loading screen. This is extremely ridiculous in my opinion, only because of the long loading screens wait times. I think that even if the game just allowed us to freely go from one exhibit hall to another without having to go back to the lobby each time, it would cut down so much on waiting times. I feel like I could just go to an actual museum in the time that it takes me to navigate this one. I wish that you had the ability to select how many cooked dishes that you wanted to make and play the little minigame once. I'm not a fan of having to create each dish separately in this way, as it's really hard to cook bulk batches. I'm actually not sure if this was intended so that the player is only cooking one item at a time and thus limiting their motivation to stack restorable items, or if this was just an oversight. I also wish that you can instantly move a stack to your shipping bin. This game does not have a quick move option, so you have to select each item and choose the quantity that you want to move each time. I'm pretty mixed about my feelings on festivals after going through some more. Yes, I love the mini games like I mentioned. However, there are definitely bugs that have not been worked out in the Switch 2 version. That includes the Moonlight Gala, where I waited the entire day and the event did not trigger. In the meantime, while I'm waiting, the NPCs are running into the decorations endlessly. In the Winter Wake, there's a gift exchange minigame, which is actually pretty cool. However, you can see your character and some of the NPCs bug out when they're moving presents, which makes it really jarring and broke my immersion. The animals in this game are also bugged, so overall, I just want them to fix the bug issues in this game, to be honest. I also really dislike that dating minigames are locked behind who you are dating. For example, Ridge only wants to go on pottery dates, and Dragon only wants to do embroidery. So if you date Ridge exclusively, then you would have never known that there are different minigames out there. I'm not sure why the dating minigames couldn't be on a rotation basis. I'm sure that Ridge might be less than thrilled at having to do a floral arrangement, but it's still something that we can have fun doing together. There are certainly many things that I wish were different in Moonlight Peaks. As you have noticed, there is a lot of polish that needs to be done on this game, and I'm quite surprised that it is released in this state. Most, if not all of the things that I mentioned wishing were different could be changed pretty easily. The foundation of the game itself is solid, and the game does have a premium feel for the price that you're paying if you concentrate on the theme and the relationships that you built with the townsfolk. You might not encounter the loading screen issue as much on the PC or Android, which, to be honest, would definitely free up the world a lot more, since it wouldn't feel like a chore to explore and get around. I think this was the main thing that dampened my experience, but other than that, I did have a really good time getting to know the characters of Moonlight Peaks and just enjoying a farming and life sim game at my own pace. since I don't feel as though I've actually completed the game in a meaningful way by unlocking all of the areas that I could explore and upgrading my tools to the max. I do think that I will be continuing to play the game to advance the story and see what else it has to offer. Like I mentioned, I do think this is a good thing for the $34.99 USD price tag that you're paying, and I would definitely hesitate to recommend it if I already explored everything within the first year. I'm still holding out for a patch that might make the loading screens more bearable and the bugs to be fixed and more quality of life features to be added that are sorely lacking. So in my opinion, if you're able to get the game at a discounted rate, I think then it would be worth more of your money at its current state than the full price. I think this game is for you if you enjoy a traditional farming and life sim game and want a supernatural and paranormal element to it. The theming is pretty solid with the variety of magical crops and animals you can raise on your farm, as well as the townsfolk with their own problems and hijinks that they get up to. You can definitely find a home here in Moonlight Peaks if you're looking for one, as long as you know what you're getting into and what you might encounter in terms of the performance issues. Well, there you have it. What do you think of Moonlight Peaks? Is it a game for you? Let me know in the comments whether this review helped you off the fence to make a decision on whether or not to buy it yourself. Of course, if you like what I do and you want to see more, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel for more reviews like this. I try to get one out as soon as possible, but of course, due to the nature of not trying to rush my experience and my own personal obligations, it does take some time to make a 10-1-10-1 review, though I appreciate your patience and your support as always. I have been Nessa, and I'm going back to watching the Draculan Revolution Parade. I will see you in the next one. Take care.